Hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to a webinar hosted by the Cloud Standards Customer Council, Hybrid Cloud Considerations for Big Data and Analytics. My name is Tracy. I'm Program Manager of the CSCC. And today's webinar presentation is part 2 of 2 webinars that we presented this week on how to launch big data and analytics solutions using cloud computing technology. Just this month, the Cloud Council has published 2 deliverables on the subject. On Tuesday, we introduced version 2.0 of the CSCC's Big Data and Analytics Reference Architecture. The architecture was expanded to support new innovations in their respective architecture components. So if you missed that presentation on Tuesday, you're very welcome to view it on demand on our website. You can visit cloud-council.org. We have an event calendar where it's archived, and also in the Resource Hub is a link to the paper, the architecture. And now today, Friday, we're introducing a new companion guide that was published this month on hybrid cloud considerations for big data and analytics. The majority of analytics use cases are on hybrid cloud infrastructure for a variety of reasons that we're going to go through today. I'd like to point your attention to the Attachments tab on BrightTalk. We have a link to the BDA reference architecture there. We have a link to this companion guide, the Hybrid Cloud Considerations paper, as well as a PDF download of the presentation deck from today. I am very grateful to be joined by 2 members of the CSCC that spearheaded this paper, Mr. Marcio Mora, an executive architect at IBM, and Christine Uyan, distinguished engineer and master inventor at IBM. Both focus heavily on big data analytics, hybrid cloud, computing. So Marcio will take us through the majority of today's presentation. We'll open it up to Q&A, where both Marcio and Christine will be available to address your questions. So during the presentation, we encourage you to submit questions in the Questions tab. We'll hold those for the end, where we should have about 10 to 15 minutes to address those. So now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Marcio. Thank you so much for joining us today, Marcio.
Thank you, Tracy. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks on the call. Thank you for joining today. So the agenda for today is we're really going to start with the definition of hybrid cloud and why hybrid cloud, and after that we are going to go to the considerations that you need to have when you're trying to implement a hybrid cloud strategy. So to start, let's define what is hybrid cloud, because every time that I go to any client, they have their own definition for hybrid cloud. So, and I'm going to show my definition that we have when we start talking with the clients. And this definition is based on that most of the clients that I talk to, it's basically they have their already established their on-prem environment. So they have their systems running on their data center, and basically they come to me and said, I want you to start talking about a hybrid cloud strategy. I have my own data center here. So how can we start this conversation? So it's very important that the way that we see hybrid cloud is we're not trying to move everything to the cloud. What we're trying to do is expand their on-prem environments to the cloud and start thinking about what are the applications, what are the kind of the data that we can move to the cloud, and what we still need to stay inside of the on-prem environment. So the way that we see this is that we are going to have a connection of the on-prem environment with a dedicated cloud, and can be optional, and together with a public cloud. So this is really the concept that when we usually talk with the clients is that how can you expand your on-prem environment to the cloud, and can be a dedicated cloud or can be a public cloud. So if you think about digital enterprise today, and you need to start thinking about a hybrid cloud. And the reason why is that you have different personas inside of your environment, that they have different goals and different types of tasks that they're supposed to do. And for you to have the flexibility and agility to allow these people to be able to decide where is the best place for them to work, and based on where the data resides, and based on the kind of performance, based on the kind of prototype that they want to do, taking consideration fail-fast strategy, you're going to need to have what we call a hybrid cloud environment that's allowed. So it's not going to depend anymore only on IT to be able to provide all the needs for these different personas. It's more all about self-services over there. So basically, the different personas can have access to the data and to the analytics where they want to be able to basically work. So based on that, so we defined the hybrid cloud. We took a look at what is a digital enterprise and why hybrid cloud is embedded into a digital enterprise. So let's talk about why hybrid cloud. So basically, it's going to be really associated with what we just saw in terms of the digital enterprise. The hybrid cloud, why hybrid cloud? Because we need to provide the different personas the best place for them to be able to work. Okay, so we're going to need to have multiple environments with the flexibility and agility that the different personas needs to have. At the same time, we need to allow that the analytics is supposed to run where the data is being generated or stored, which is what we call the concept of data gravity. So it means that if most of your data, it's on-prem right now, the data analytics is supposed to run over there. But if you start basically having applications running on the public cloud and you're generating some data over there, so basically now you have another center of gravity over there, and you need to take this into consideration. And the other thing that we are going to cover on this paper that it's highlighted over here, it's basically if you have regulations associated with your data, the hybrid cloud is also good for data sovereignty and regulation requirements. So it means that if you have data that cannot leave a specific country, we can really have basically an option to have the data stored over there on, for example, on a cloud environment, and you can satisfy the data sovereignty regulations that you have. And one of the things is that it's most important for the hybrid cloud is really in terms of providing basically the agile approach in terms of developing and creating new applications and new applications for and provide this to the different personas over there. So it means that the self-service concept that now I provide you the tools and the data that you and the different environments, and you are going to be able to choose where it's the best fit for you. And at the same time, it's basically think about the workload portability in terms of performance. Where is the best environment for me to be able to run this application? Going to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit what is really associated with the hybrid cloud. It's the concept of a multi-speed IT. So as I mentioned before, IT cannot be the only provider of data and infrastructure and all the resource for all the different personas. And so there is a very high demand from the business side saying, hey, I need to have access to the data. I want to develop my own insights. And so basically it creates this concept of what a multi-speed IT. So the business side is demanding access to more to the data, more to the analytics, and more to the insights. And we need to provide an environment that allows these kind of self-service. Okay, and so basically because of that, the hybrid cloud comes in place and say, hey, I'm going to be able to provide these different environments, and you're going to be able to do the tasks that you are trying to do and in more an agile way and a kind of self-service. So moving to the next slide. Tracy, I think it's kind of froze for me over here.
Oh, let me try to, there we go. Do you see slide 10?
No, I don't see. So it looks like it's froze my side. Okay, but I'm going to continue on slide 10. So so this slide is basically it's what's happening with all the environments, all the organizations that we are talking to. What they really want to do is to be able to provide a better customer experience to the customer. And so really so really what it's really the hybrid cloud allows you to do that, because you start thinking about on-prem, and so all the basic information that you have about your customer over there, and when you spend to the cloud, what is going to happen is basically you're going to be able to design better applications that can interact better with your clients, and you can provide a personalized engagement with your clients with that. So Tracy, can you go to and basically forward the screens for me, because yeah, my screen froze down. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. We're on slide 11 now. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to talk about now four the primary drivers of hybrid cloud. The first thing is really integration, and what we are trying to do is basically the organizations come to me. I want to expand my on-prem environments to the cloud, and so means that I want to the traditional use case is I want to be able to expose my on-prem data to my application that is going to run on the cloud. And so we need to do this integration. So how can I expose and basically this data that it's being generated on-prem to the cloud and be able to put its security in place and allow for the application to be able to consume this information. So this is one of the drivers. The second driver is really workload and resource optimization. This means that organizations want to be able to define the best environment where that particular data is going to be generated and where the application is going to run. Okay, so it means that they don't want to rely more only on-prem anymore. They want to have the flexibility to be able to move the application to where it makes more sense in terms of cost, in terms of performance, in terms of security. All these needs to be in place, but it's basically they want to have this flexibility to do that. The other case is portability. So it means that there are more use cases where the demands and the kind of consumptions of an application change over time. And so what is happening here is that I need to have the flexibility to be able to move my application based on the demands from my consumers and the types of consumptions that they are requesting, to be able to move that application to a different environment that best fits for the kind of consumptions and the kind of needs that my customer is requesting. And the final one is compliance. So it means that we have a lot of regulations, industry regulations, and basically I need to be able to, and data sovereignty laws too, and I need to be able to comply with all this. So what is the best approach in terms of for me to use a hybrid cloud strategy to allow for me to have compliance in terms of regulations and data sovereignty? So can you move the slide for me, Tracy?
Yes. All set.
So the future of the hybrid cloud. So what we focus here is just, we are not there yet, but it's basically what is the goal for the future of hybrid cloud, what we can expect from that. So I think the main goal is going to be, you have really a seamless, what I call seamless hybrid experience. This means that the different personas that are trying to use these multiple different environments on a hybrid cloud needs to have the same kind of experience when they work on-prem, when they work on a dedicated cloud, or when they work on a public cloud. And if we reach that goal, okay, I think it's going to be where everything is going to be on the right place. So it means that doesn't matter where the different personas wants to generate the analytics over there, for example, they are going to have the same kind of experience. They're going to be able to use the tools that they want. They're going to be able to have the data that they need to, and the work experience is going to be the same. Doesn't matter where the data is, where the tool is, but it's basically they're going to have the same kind of experience trying to accomplish the task that they need to accomplish. Let's go to the next slide. And so it's how to it's your slide. Which slide, Tracy?
14.
14. Okay. All right. So how to implement a hybrid cloud strategy? So the two things that you need to consider when you're trying to implement a hybrid cloud strategy, the first one is culture shift. And it's culture because a lot of organizations still depend on the IT to provide all the resource, all the needs for a new application, for a new project. And now, when you start thinking about hybrid cloud, it's a more self-service, self-oriented approach. Means that you're not going to rely anymore on the IT to provide all the needs that you need to have for you to be able to develop a new application or to do some research or exploration or any kind of task that you want to do. So it means that we need to have this cultural shift on the organization that it's allowed us to say, hey, we're going to provide this environment that you're going to be able to do self-service, but you need to be open for that. So it means that different personas is not going to rely on IT exclusively anymore. They're going to need to be able to start working and be able to build their own data analytics, basically prototypes over there, and to be able to do all this by themselves. So we need to have this culture shift for us to be able to implement a hybrid cloud strategy. And the other thing that you need to consider is the different levels of hybrid sophistication. So this means that I can have a very deep hybrid cloud strategy where everything that it needs to be defined, the integration between the different environments, and basically everything needs to be defined and to be in place. Or I can have a very simple use case for you to start a hybrid cloud strategy, and I can start talking, for example, on a use case that I just mentioned several times already. The company wants to basically expose some of the data that is being generated on-prem, for example, transactions that's being generated on-prem to the application that is running on the cloud. So if we have that particular very simplest use case, it can be the start of a hybrid cloud strategy, but it's basically going to be a very basically simple level. We are just trying to do this, and in the future, as more use case becomes the need for the organization, we want to start and expanding the hybrid cloud strategy. So basically, we have these two different approaches, but you need to start thinking about what I'm trying to do. Do I want to put a blueprint for my hybrid cloud strategy and take consideration of everything, or let's have an approach that is going to be more based on use case, and based on the use case, we're going to define what is the best strategy for that particular use case. So can you go to the next slide, please?
Yes, we're there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So what we're going to talk about is there's different scenarios from hybrid cloud that we see when we talk with the organization. We are going to focus in just one, but it's basically it's out there for you to be able to see the different kind of scenarios that we have. Okay. So the one that is highlighted is the one that is basically it's the most common one that the people ask us to talk about when we go to an organization, and it's basically is the use case that I've been talking a lot already on this presentation. So it means that I have my system of engagement. So I have my mobile app, or I have a system of automation. I have an IoT device, okay? And now I want this to be integrated with my system of insights that basically is generating the insights for me and my system of records. So it means that I can have my system of records being on-prem, okay, and I have my system insights usually across my hybrid cloud environment, and I have my system of engagement or my system of automations inside of the public cloud. And now I need to integrate all this together. So what is the best approach for me to do this? I'm going to use, for example, an API to be able to expose the data into coming from the system of records, and for the system of engagement to consume. Do I need to have a gateway established? What kind of security that I need to have in place? So all these you need to take in consideration when you are considering that particular use case. I think my system is back, Tracy. Thank you for your help.
Oh, great.
So let's talk about basically some of the considerations for the big data analytics. So the first thing that we need to think about is now that you have multiple environments and the data can be generated, stored on these multiple environments, one of the concepts that you need to have in mind is called data gravity, okay? So this means that the process needs to be done where the data was created and it was stored, because data movement between the different hybrid cloud environments, it's very expensive. Even though that you can have a VPN with a big pipe, it still is expensive. So what you need to be focused when you are thinking about this is, okay, where is the data gravity is going to basically define where is the workload is going to do, because if you start moving data around between the the different environments over there, you're going to start having problems in terms of latency. The other thing is localization-wise. This means that if you have regulations and if you have compliance that you need to do, basically, what you need to think about is where the data is supposed to be resides based on these compliance and regulations that you have to take in consideration. So it means that you really need to think about, it's not only more in terms of the data gravity, but it's also where is the data supposed to be based on the regulations that I have. And the third one is the data topology. And I think it's one of the most important ones, because now that you have multiple environments and you're trying to establish a self-service, self-oriented approach for the different personas to be able to have access to the resource that they need on these multiple environments, it's better for you to do what we call a data topology approach in terms of looking at the kind of consumptions that you need to satisfy, look at the kind of workloads, the kind of data, the kind of security requirements, and basically the kind of data integration that you're going to need to have, all these different kind of performance that you're going to need to have, and look at all these different basically components over there and define, okay, how my data topologies is going to lay down on this architecture. So it means that I have these different basically environments over there. Where is the best place for me to be able to store all the data that I need to store to satisfy all the requirements that I have from my users, okay? So let's go to the next slide. So still big data analytics on hybrid cloud. So if you think about the traditional organization, when I call traditional organization, is the organization that they already have a well-established data center with all the data being generated to on-prem. It's the use case that the organization comes and start talking with me and say, hey, I want to expand my my on-prem information to the cloud. Can we start talking a hybrid cloud strategy here? So if you see this, basically, most of the data is still out there on-prem, and they start trying to use the cloud a little bit, and they want to do a hybrid cloud strategy. But on the other hand, you're going to be able to see that the internet-born organizations are on a different path. So because most of the data that they have, it's already on the cloud, and they have like a kind of 80-20 rule out there. So most of the data is on the cloud, 20% is on-prem. So it's a different approach. But if you look at these two kinds of organizations, what you need to have in mind, they follow the same three buckets over there. And basically, when you're thinking about a hybrid cloud strategy, you need to think about that. So the first one is where basically you need to look at the data that you want to share on a public cloud. So basically, it's public data, and you're going to be able to, you want to share, and you're going to put on the public cloud. The second one is the data that you want to share across your organization. And you can use your on-prem, or you can use a dedicated cloud for that. But it's basically, we are focused on a dedicated cloud because we think that it's the best approach in terms of if you want to share the data across your organization, it's best to put on a dedicated cloud. And the third bucket is really the very high sensitive data over there that still needs to be on-prem, that you don't want to put on the other two environments. Going to the next slide, we're going to talk about the analytics lifecycle, the way that we see and how it fits inside of the hybrid cloud. So the way that we see is we have different steps on analytics lifecycle development. And so when you put the hybrid cloud on it, the steps is still the same, but what is the difference is that now you you decide where you want to do each one of the steps. And it's basically, because the hybrid cloud, you have a public cloud, you have a dedicated cloud, and you have on-prem, you're going to be able to decide where is the best place for me to do this analytic life cycle here. So I can do my search and survey and basically what it's going to do is it's going to really be based on the concept that we are at talk. It's going to be based on data gravity over there, or the localization of the data. So it means that you're going to start thinking about that when you do a search and survey. When you do the discovery exploration, is where you're going to need to have the tools available for you to do this kind of approach. So you're going to choose the best environment that is going to provide the best tools for you to be able to do that. And when it comes to deploy this, the IT comes in place and say, hey, let's think about where is the best environment for us to deploy this based on the kind of requirements that you have in terms of what is going to be the consumer, what kind of performance that you need to have, and things like that. You're going to be able to decide where is the best environment for me to deploy that new application, for example. Going to the next slide. And this slide is just to provide an example in terms of the data topology that I've already mentioned before. A kind of an exercise that you need to do when you're thinking about a hybrid cloud strategy. So why this is important? The way that I've already mentioned before, it's the way that you're going to lay out all the data that you need based on the kind of consumptions and the kind of consumptions that you have from the different personas over there inside of your organization. So if you look at, I have the data source on the left, and I start with the landing zone. And after that is one of the zones that you're going to bring all the data over there that's coming, the data can be coming from basically social media, for example, or the transactions that's coming from your transaction system. But it's basically you have a landing zone. And after that, on the top part is going to be the self-service that you're going to be able to provide that information for the different personas to be able to use that information, and the information can come from any kind of source that you have over there. So there's a provision zone that the different personas can provision their own data, and then they can play with the data. And they also have a self-service zone over there where they can use the different tools to do data discovery, to do analytics, and to do whatever they want to do with the data. In the middle, we have the share operation zone. Basically, you have your master data over there. It's one example. You have your basically metadata catalog. You have all this that's going to help the different personas that is, for example, if they are trying to do the self-service, to be able to find, to do the search and find where the data is, okay? And on the bottom part is really where you have your traditional IT environment, where you have your data warehouse, you have the data marts that is already well established over there, but it's basically we have a specific kind of consumption and workload for this environment too. So this is kind of how you need to do this kind of exercise and see how the data is going to be laid down on the different environments. And basically, what you need to have in consideration is not only the data itself, but you're going to need to take in consideration the performance, the security, all the different aspects that when you're going to put the data over there on these different zones, if it's really feasible for you to do that or not. Going to the next slide. So this was presented this past Tuesday. Christine Young is with me on this presentation today, and she presents the hybrid cloud for big data analytics. I'm not going to go into all the details of this because it was already presented Tuesday, but it's basically, this is a template that we use when we start thinking about use case that we want to deploy on a hybrid cloud strategy. You use this as a template and start looking at the different components that you have on this reference architecture over here, and how we are going to use, and basically it's complete technology agnostic. So basically we are just specifying the kind of components that you need to have to deploy any kind of hybrid cloud strategy. At the same time, you start with that, but you're going to go to the a deeper level and define everything that you need in terms of technology too. But you start with this high-level concept architecture over here and define what kind of components that you're going to need. And it's divided in three slots. One is on the left, it's the public cloud. In the middle is the provider cloud, is basically associated with the dedicated cloud. And on the right is the enterprise. So basically, what you're going to need. So for example, if I'm going to go to the traditional scenario that I have an application running on a public cloud and I need to basically integrate with the data that is running on-prem, what I'm going to need to have at least is going to be, if I expose this to an API, I'm going to have API management over there. I'm going to need to have a security gateway. Probably I'm going to define a VPN tunnel for this data. So all this can be designed and put it in place for this particular use case based on this template, okay? So going to this next slide, data movement on hybrid cloud. So this is one of the most important things that you need to consider, because if you talk with any cloud provider today, doesn't matter each one, if you have more than 5 terabytes of data to move, what they're going to do with you is provide a disk appliance, and you're going to copy your data into the disk appliance, ship to them, and they're going to load the data into the environment for you, okay? So it means that we have a lot of faster ways to do this today, but it's still, if you have a lot of data that you want to move, it's going to be the way that the providers are going to request you to do. So based on that, and I've already mentioned it's very expensive to move the data from one environment to another, you need to consider these 5 topics here. First of all, it's location. So this is not real estate, but it's basically, if you can find a cloud provider that is close to the data center, probably the data movement is going to be faster. Why? Because you're going to cover less distance over there. So basically, it's physics. So if you have that, if it's closer to your data center, probably it's going to be faster. A dedicated connection, a VPN, it's basically a dedicated pipe. It's always things that you consider depends on the needs that you have. Cloud cache means that let's cache the information into the cloud and use by multiple applications instead of having each application to try to bring that data for the application. So if you have a common data that is going to be used for multiple applications in the cloud, it's better for you to cache and all the applications to use the same data instead of each one of the applications try to bring the same data all over again. Traffic optimization is to use compression. So it means that if you compress the data, and basically you're going to be able to send more data using less resource. And workload optimization, start thinking about when you're designing a new application right now, start thinking about the way that you can minimize the data movement. Because if you are going to a hybrid cloud strategy, you need to start thinking about that. So let's go to the next slide. Data preparation and integration. So what are things that you need to consider? Basically, and I'm just showing the different steps that we see different organizations doing this. Usually they start on the first step is exposing on-prem data to SaaS applications. So means that you're going to expose via an API, and basically the application is going to be able to consume. The next step is going to be, let's apply analytics where the data is being generated and created. So the real-time analytics with streaming data. So it means that can I start generating my analytics where the data is being generated? The third one is basically start thinking a hybrid cloud data hub, and it's basically it's linked with the data topology. So it means that let's start thinking about doing a data topology exercise and think all the needs that we need in terms of the data and workload, and define what we call a hybrid cloud data hub over there. You're going to have different repositories for different purpose for the different needs that you have. And at the end, basically, you start putting machine learning and cognitive and be able to generate more kind of personalized experience to your customer via your app. Okay, so basically these are the 4 steps that we see different organizations going through in terms of data preparation integration on hybrid cloud. Going to the next one, it's one of the most important things that you need to consider on a hybrid cloud. It's basically security. And so 3 things that you need to at least to consider when you're thinking about going to a hybrid cloud strategy. First of all, it's what we call mind the gap. It means that you have your security established on-prem, and you have all the processes and procedures in place over there, and your data is very secure. And when you go to the cloud, it's a provider, and you need to be able to make sure that it's going to be able to provide the same kind of process and procedures that you have on your established as your on-prem environment. If the provider doesn't provide that, what things that you need to do to have the same kind of level of security on this provider cloud. So before you move your data to the cloud, you need to start thinking, do this first, because after you move, it's too late. So basically, you can have a data breach over there. The other thing is deal with the data. So again, think about the data. Think about the level of security that you need to have with the data before you move to the cloud. Do I need to encrypt this data or not? So when I'm going to expose this data to the cloud. If yes, so basically you are prepared. So when you're moving the data to the cloud, you already encrypt and there is no problem over there. So we need to be proactive here. It's not reactive. So it means that everything needs to be think before you start moving to the cloud. And the third one is get compliance in terms of if you have industry regulations or data sovereignty rules out there. So take this in consideration before you move the data to the cloud. Going to the next slide. So let's talk about performance, and it's another basically very important topic over there. So the first one is network latency on-prem to the cloud. So we can minimize this to basically, you need to start thinking about this because a lot of times when we are doing a hybrid cloud strategy, the organization comes, I want to move these applications to the cloud, but it's basically because of the network latency, you're not going to be able to have the same kind of service level agreements in the same kind of performance that you're going to have. So you need to start thinking about what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the data. What kind of the steps that you need to do to reach the performance that you need to have when you're trying to move this application that is running on-prem right now to the cloud. The other one is cloud service and what is the best service for me to access the data that it resides on-prem? Okay, so you need to start thinking about, the best thing is going to be put an API over there, expose. I'm going to have any latency issues. I'm going to be able to meet the SLA in terms of the performance that I need. So you need to start thinking about what kind of service the best fit for you to access the data on-prem. The other thing is the VPN. So it means that you need to think about the VPN. It's good because you have a dedicated pipe over there, but at the same time, the compression that is associated with the VPN creates a 30% overhead when you're trying to move the data. So it means that there is some performance considerations when you are also using VPN. Security gateway. So usually what you see is the organization establishes security gateway, and suddenly the security gateway becomes a bottleneck. And the thing that the organization usually don't consider, you can have more than one security gateway. So it means that it's something that you need to start thinking when you're doing performance. So if the security gateway becomes a bottleneck, let's open more than one and be able to split the traffic in multiple security gateways, and you're going to have the performance that you need. So in the last thing that I want to consider, show you today, it's a use case, and it's a cyber threat a use case using that basically the reference architecture. So how we define this cyber threat intelligence use case on using that particular reference and architecture. So I'm going to just go into the flow just for you to understand. So the first thing that we need to do is to collect the data. And the data can be from the public side and can be from enterprise. From the enterprise is going to be the Active Directory logs and network logs. From the public is going to be network probes, DNS, NetFlow, and kind of the kind of scans that it's being happening on your network. Okay, so you basically you bring all this data and you need to integrate all this data, and the best way to do is to put in basically a common format, and you do that using the kind of any data integration over there. And it can be a stream and it can be a regular basically load of that information over there. So basically you can use a different approach in terms of how you're going to bring this data in. And when you load this data in the repository, what you need to do is to start using kind of advanced analytics and machine learning to be able to start creating the models to identify cyber threats. And when you have this model available and develop, what you're going to do, you're going to deploy it back again, for example, on the stream flow. So it means that as you basically receiving the data, the model is running and detecting any kind of cyber threat that you have in place. It's happening right now. Okay. So this concludes what I was planning to show today, and I'm going to send back to you, Tracy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marcio. That was excellent. And as you mentioned a few times here, we this week as well announced version 2.0 of our reference architecture for building out big data and analytic solutions using cloud. And on this slide, there's a link to the paper. And if you'd like to view the webinar from Tuesday, you can do so up on our website, the events page. And we'd like to invite everyone on the call. If you're not yet already a member, you're welcome to join the CSCC. There's no fee to join. We're an open membership organization. We have various working groups, including a big data working group. So if contributing to papers like these is of interest to you and you have some expertise in this area, we'd love to have you in our network. So please do. And you can also join our mailing list to be the first informed as new papers are published and to receive invitations to events with the authors. On this last slide too, we pulled out a few other resources from our resource hub, which may be helpful to you in your travels. So if you have some questions, now is a good time to enter them. We do have one here. We have about 10 minutes, so plenty of time. And Christine is also on the line with us too. So Christine and Marcio, the question we have here is, what is the usual use case that drives a hybrid cloud implementation?
Okay. Christine, do you want me to cover that?
Yeah, you go ahead, and I'll chime in later.
Okay. So, as I mentioned during this presentation, usually the typical use case that we usually see is from the clients that start driving a hybrid cloud implementation is the one that they have a system of engagement or a system of automation, and basically they want to basically use the data that is being generated on-prem on this particular application that is running on the public cloud. So it means that how can I expose my on-prem data to, and also can be the system insights to the system engagement and system automation that is running on the cloud. And the reason that they are doing this is because they want to do a more personalized experience to the customer. So think about, you have a mobile app that is running on the public cloud, and now you want to know more about your customer that is basically engaging with you on your mobile app. So I need to bring, for example, customer data information that usually resides on-prem about this customer for me to be able to do, for example, send a personalized offer to them on the mobile app. And so basically, it needs to have access to this. Or, for example, I want to see the application wants to see the latest transactions that this customer did, and based on these latest transactions, send an offer in terms of things that it can be correlated with these latest transactions. So there is a lot of use case associated with that, because the main goal is how can basically my application that is running on my system engagements can provide a better personalized offer to my customer. Christine, anything that you want to add?
Yeah, you actually covered pretty well. I just flip back to your charts back to the hybrid cloud scenarios. So this is a page where most of these scenarios, different types of scenarios are covered. The integration piece of the integration of data from different data sources, such as a system of records, usually it's on-prem, and a system engagement or system of automation, the data usually sit out there in the public cloud. Whereas for the system of insight to really to be able to integrate all different data from different sources and generate the insight, oftentimes is to support the personalized offerings, best offerings, as Marcia said, right? So that's the most of the use cases that we have seen so far. Now, of course, there are different types of use cases, for different reasons. For example, if you just wanted to lower your cost, reduce your IT cost by moving some of your workloads to public cloud, you pay as you go. You don't have too much of a capital expense upfront. You can do that too, but then by doing so, you just generated a hybrid environment for yourself, right? So no matter what kind of a reason, motivation that you have to go to cloud, as Marcia just presented, you really have to think about all these key components that he covered, regarding security, regarding the data movement, regarding the performance. And then oftentimes, we also see, clients would like to take advantage of the APIs or microservices that is out there that they can really enrich their own applications. So that's another type of clients that they're going out there, trying to leverage the public cloud. But again, how do you integrate that suite of applications that you're going to put in the public cloud back to your on-prem or private cloud enterprise applications. And those are all, within the scope of hybrid cloud scenarios.
Okay. We have another question from the audience, and it's asking, in a hybrid cloud environment, would both a physical and virtual appliance be required to gather the information, detect, and respond to cyber threats? And yes. So basically, you can deploy as a physical or virtual appliance over there. So the bottom line, you need to collect all the data first to be able to basically develop the cyber threat models, and you always be collecting this as you basically create the model. What you need to do is to put the model running on your stream flow and be able to start basically detecting this. And it needs to be a constant basically reviewing the model, because cyber threats are basically creating new ones every day. So it means that your model needs to be revised on a basically very frequently to be able to see the different kind of logs that you are receiving, the different kind of scams that you're receiving on your network, to be able to basically continue developing the model, continue updating the model, and be able to basically respond to this cyber threat. So another question, yes, one more, Tracy.
Oh, sure. Could you share an experience of more than one public cloud to enterprise, for example, AWS applications and Azure Data Hub integration to enterprise?
Christine, do you want to talk about the one that you, the bank that you present on Tuesday?
Yeah, so on Tuesday, I presented the cloud customer architecture for big data and analytics. And then at the time, I shared an example where we worked with a bank to help them establish their cognitive capabilities in really offering up personalized experience to their customers. So over there, they actually use Azure, Data Hub, and then they also use the runtime engine is Spark, right? And then, of course, on the private cloud side, they actually use IBM's Marketing Cloud as the interaction, control, for all the channels, whether it's a web access or it's a mobile application or it's a branch, interaction experience, right? So I haven't seen, at least I haven't come across a client where they used AWS together with Azure yet. But then, as I said, in a hybrid cloud situation, environment, it really provides you with the flexibility because you can, in theory, right? Of course, with some caution, that you can always have different kinds of clouds. You may also have heard this multi-cloud term, right? People just like to get the best of the cloud from a different cloud vendor depending on their needs, right? So in theory, the different public clouds, such as AWS or Azure, should be able to integrate to the with the enterprise or on-prem, whether it's on-prem or private cloud. Now the key there is really the security, right? Make sure that because if you want to walk across different clouds, send data back and forth, and then back and forth with the enterprise environment, right? The security really is the key. So then the information governance, you really have to have a very good strategy and overall information governance to govern your data, manage your data, and then also from the security side, the user access, right? You need to provide the right level of access to different personas. And then, of course, from the security side, you got to really detect, be very diligent on detecting the cyber threats and then fight against it using the predictive analytics, with all the log data that you have.
Okay.
Very good. Well, it looks like we're at the top of the hour. That was a very good, comprehensive presentation. Thank you so much, Marcio, and Christine, too, for being on board for Q&A. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We hope to see you at a future presentation. Have a great rest of the day, an excellent weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Marcio.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Christine.